On the rocks for now, the roller coaster relationship between the Chargers and the city of San Diego. The city leaders going back to their playbook to keep the team in town.
You just got to be a little bit more frugal at that point. And I mean, we're smart people in the military. We can do that.
Military families trying to buy the American dream, the new challenges they face thanks to Congress, and how far they would go to find a home of their own.
$1 million, that's better than an oil man.
Dream a little dream. San Diego and the rest of the nation obsessing over tonight's record Powerball jackpot. We'll show you the luckiest stores in San Diego. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Murphy. Call it a game changer for the NFL stadium talks. There's still hope for Chargers fans who want to keep the team in San Diego. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains what's next after the St. Louis Rams won the bid to move to Los Angeles.
Mayor Kevin Faulconer was optimistic at a news conference today. He said San Diego can have a fresh start on talks about building a new Chargers stadium here.
Today is the opportunity to put the past behind us. Today is an opportunity to get to work. I think it's one that, as I've had the opportunity over the last night and this morning, one that San Diegans are eager to get started on.
Yesterday's NFL owners meeting in Houston created more questions than answers for San Diegans. St. Louis Rams owner Stan Kroenke was approved for his relocation to the LA suburb of Inglewood. The development plans include retail, housing, and a hotel. The Chargers were given a one-year option to join him. Owner Dean Spanos could take that option or renegotiate with the city of San Diego. The city is still backing its site for a new stadium in Mission Valley. The property is already owned by the city, and Faulconer says it has the backing of fans. But he says he's open to the Chargers' preferred site downtown.
As you know, there's some real challenges with the downtown site. We don't own the property. You need to move the bus yard. It's going to require a lot more time and likely a lot more money. But we've said we're open to discuss all of that. It just will take a lot longer.
One question Faulconer couldn't answer for sure: when voters will have a chance to weigh in on the stadium issue. The city and county of San Diego have proposed $350 million in public financing for the $1 billion stadium. And with a long list of other spending priorities, including infrastructure and affordable housing, voter support for the stadium plan is far from certain. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Team owner Dean Spanos told the mighty 1090 FM that he didn't get what he wanted out of yesterday's meeting. He says he was focused on bringing the Chargers to Carson, but he'll take a fresh look at his alternatives.
In the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to sit down and really look at all our options that are open to us, not just in San Diego, but obviously in Inglewood.
St. Louis is giving up pro football. Mayor Francis Slay said today he has no appetite for seeking another NFL team after the LA vote. This is based on what he calls the dishonest way his city was dealt with over the stadium issue. A governor-appointed task force had plans for a $1 billion riverfront stadium in St. Louis. The NFL said those plans were not good enough. Our coverage on the stadium talks continues on air at KPBS Radio and online kpbs.org. That's where viewers are sounding off on whether the Chargers should stay or go. 10 San Diego-based sailors who were held by Iran less than 24 hours are back in U.S. hands. Military officials say the 9 men and 1 woman were released this morning from an Iranian naval base on Farsi Island. The U.S. military has said mechanical trouble with one of the boats assigned to Riverine Squadron 1 caused the crew to drift into Iranian waters. The Iranian news agency showed video of the sailors with their hands on their heads during their capture and and of the sailors sitting on carpets in a room and leaning against cushions. They also showed one of the sailors apologizing. The Pentagon reports the crew was given food and blankets during their detention. U.S. Navy spokesman Lieutenant Commander Timothy Hawkins told KPBS the sailors appear to be in good condition.
There are no indications that the sailors were harmed during their brief detention. The sailors departed Farsi Island earlier this morning aboard 2 riverine command boats that they had been operating when they lost contact with the U.S. Navy.
Secretary of State John Kerry says lines of communication established with Iran during nuclear negotiations were key to the sailors' quick release.
These are always situations which, as everybody here knows, have an ability, if not properly guided, to get out of control. And I'm appreciative for the quick and appropriate response of the Iranian authorities.
The Navy is investigating what led to the sailors' presence in Iran. According to the Riverine Squadron 1 Facebook page, the force deployed to Bahrain 10 months ago from Naval Air Station North Island. Republican lawmakers want more oversight over a landmark nuclear deal with Iran. House members approved the Iran Terror Finance Transparency Act today. This comes less than 24 hours after the sailors were detained and then released by Tehran. The White House says the president will veto the measure if it makes it to his desk. The U.S. is set to begin lifting sanctions against Iran as the nation fulfills its obligations under the deal. Raising the minimum wage, overhauling the immigration system, and tightening gun laws were some of the priorities President Obama outlined in his final State of the Union address. Associated Press reporter Tracy Brown reports he was also looking to November.
The 2016 presidential race loomed over Capitol Hill as President Barack Obama delivered his last State of the Union address.
Tonight marks the 8th year that I've come here to report on the State of the Union. And for this final one, I'm going to try to make it a little shorter. I know some of you are anxious to get back to Iowa.
In broad policy sweeps, the president returning to the optimistic tone of his 2 successful presidential campaigns, renewing his call for hope and change.
It's a lot easier to be cynical, to accept that change is not possible, and politics is hopeless. But if we give up now, then we forsake a better future.
Defending his legacy, Obama ticked through a retrospective of actions while in office, including helping lead the economy back from the brink of depression, taking aggressive action on climate change, and ending a Cold War freeze with Cuba.
So if you want to consolidate our leadership and credibility in the hemisphere, recognize that the Cold War is over. Lift the embargo.
Opening the final stretch of his presidency, Obama wants to convince an increasingly skeptical public that he has a handle on the volatile Middle East and is taking steps to prevent terrorism in the United States.
But as we focus on destroying ISIL, over-the-top claims that this is World War III just play into their hands. Masses of fighters on the back of pickup trucks, twisted souls plotting in apartments or garages, they pose an enormous danger to civilians. They have to be stopped. But they do not threaten our national existence.
Tuesday's address is one of the few remaining opportunities the president has to frame the broad political debate before attention shifts to those seeking to replace him.
I believe in change because I believe in you, the American people. And that's why I stand here as confident as I have ever been that the state of our union is strong. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Obama hitting his high notes in a primetime counterpoint to what the White House sees as doom and gloom messages from Republican presidential candidates. Tracy Brown, Associated Press.
The San Diego region fell short of its water conservation goals for the second straight month. San Diego County used 18% less water in December when compared to the same month in 2013. That's below the region target of 20%. Regional water managers say that's still very good, considering December is typically a month where demand for outdoor lawn watering drops. Overall, the region has conserved 24% of the water it used in 2013. That's easily above the region's overall target. Exploring all options to clean up the mess at La Jolla Cove. KPBS reporter Claire Trageser has more on a new way to keep the sea lions off the bluffs.
For years, a powerful stench has plagued La Jolla's coastal area. It comes from the droppings of birds and sea lions. Now, there's a new solution. The idea is to set up rotating plastic cylinders that will roll the marine mammals off the rocks as they try to jump out of the water. These rotating barriers are already used with cats and coyotes. They'd be placed along the bluffs to keep the sea lions from climbing out of the ocean.
It's simply a barrier made of inflatable cylinders that sea lions should not be able to pass over. But at the same time, they're not going to get caught in it, they're not going to get hurt. And it will separate people from sea lions.
Steve Haskins says a La Jolla Town Council committee considered other options as well, including a fake orca to scare away the sea lions.
Sea lions apparently didn't care. Monterey Bay Aquarium had an inflatable orca, and the sea lions were scared of it for a day until they realized it never moved anywhere.
Other ideas were an ultrasonic acoustic fence installed underwater, but its effects on humans are unknown, and mats that give off small electric shocks to the animals.
That's an idea that is probably unacceptable to pretty much everybody, right? That's not going to work, and certainly not in La Jolla.
Haskins plans to ask the San Diego City Council to apply for a permit for the barrier. Right now, the city sprays the bluffs with a cleaning agent, which costs $7,200 a month. Claire Trageser, KPBS News.
One dangerous snake on the coast, a 5-foot-long yellow-bellied sea snake along the Coronado coastline. The snake is usually found in the tropical waters, but it is the second of the species to swim up to Southern California in the past month. Campaigning for and against Measure A is in full swing in Carlsbad, where supporters and opponents of a new shopping center on a coastal lagoon are gearing up for a February special election. Caruso Affiliated has now spent more than $7 million to convince Carlsbad voters that it's a good plan. Opponents believe the project is too big for the site and will clog Interstate 5 and surrounding freeways with traffic. They have spent tens of thousands of dollars opposing the project. $75,000 came from Westgate Mall, which has a rival mall on La Jolla Village Drive, 20 miles south. The special election is February 23rd, but voting can begin January 25th. Just around the corner, the final countdown for enrollment in Covered California. Those who don't sign up this month face tax penalties close to $700 per adult for being uninsured in 2016. Families could face penalties of thousands of dollars. Officials say there are nearly 400,000 eligible Californians who have not enrolled for health care coverage.
Let me be clear. If you're an individual that has a penalty that may be $200 a month, your penalty could be more than your cable and utility bill put together. But that's not the big gamble. That's not the big penalty. The big penalty is going without health insurance. Because you go into the hospital, you could walk out with a $60,000 debt.
The deadline to get covered is January 31st. California Nurses Association says its members are leaving Alvarado Hospital at alarming rates and patients are suffering. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler joins us from the newsroom.
The California Nurses Association held a press conference to highlight what they say are dangerous staffing turnover rates at the hospital. The union says about 40% of nurses left the hospital in the last year, with some specialty units losing as many as 70%. Nursing Solutions Incorporated says the national turnover rate for registered nurses is about 15%. Elisa Logan stood in front of Alvarado Hospital with her resignation letter in hand.
Better pay, better staffing, more resources. We're always fighting over the computers, over vital sign machines, really ridiculous.
Alvarado Hospital and the Nurses Union have been in contract negotiations for just under a year. The hospital released a statement calling the press conference a union stunt. It reads, quote, "Stalling negotiations and holding press conferences such as the one today are common tactics deployed by unions bargaining with employers." Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
People who donate blood to the San Diego Blood Bank can now help researchers explore the immune system. A new partnership will allow donors to give an extra vial to the La Jolla Institute for Allergy and Immunology to study how the body overcomes disease. Blood bank officials say an extra tube of blood donated to research could potentially lead to new scientific discoveries. Al Jazeera America says it's shutting down just 2.5 years after its launch. The cable news network blames the economic landscape of the media environment for its demise. While it won some awards, not many people watched the channel. Al Jazeera America is an offshoot of Qatar-based Al Jazeera cable news network. It will stop broadcasting by the end of April. Beginning this month, many members of the military will get a little extra in their paychecks. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh explains why San Diego families aren't celebrating this increase in the basic allowance for housing.
One of the big factors that we liked about this house was the backyard. It's fenced in.
Lieutenant Daniel Burke and his wife Gloria have learned that in San Diego you keep your fingers crossed when you search for a place to rent. They've been searching since June after he got word that the Navy is relocating him to Point Loma from Connecticut.
A formal dining room type place as well. Surprisingly, that's not really how it was working out here. It seems like the property managers don't want to waste their time because the market seems to just be so fast paced and moves really quickly.
They have 2 small dogs and a cat, so they wanted a house with a yard big enough to raise kids someday.
Kitchen in here.
They ended up in Chula Vista, which still has a large concentration of military families.
It's very competitive. This is the first time we've ever gone to a viewing for a home and had other people kind of show up, and I felt like it was, a race to drop an application at certain places.
Living in Chula Vista means that Lieutenant Burke will have a 30-minute commute back to San Diego. He and his wife didn't even look here along Point Loma near his base, which was a traditional bastion of military housing. Military families, though, have been priced out of this market for years. This month, the military in San Diego and across the country will see on average a 3.4% boost in the amount of money they receive for housing. This covers the rising housing costs nationwide, though overall, Congress is actually cutting back. Up until last year, Congress paid for 100% of the cost of off-base housing. Beginning this year, that number has dropped to 98%. By 2019, as part of a congressional budget deal, that figure is supposed to drop to 95%, even in pricey San Diego.
To not give that full amount will definitely mean changes for military families and personnel moving forward in terms of the affordability of living in around military bases.
On average, military families pay 34% more for housing than other Americans. Navy and Marine families are hit hardest because their bases are typically located along pricey coastal areas like California, with San Diego being one of the most expensive military housing markets in the country.
I just don't understand how, a person can get 95% of a house and, just have to suck it up for the next 5%.
Derek Barksdale's real estate firm handles only military clients.
They just need some information on their VA home loans.
Before he retired, he spent 21 years in the Navy, stationed in San Diego.
And I wanted to give back in a grander way, and so this was the way to do so.
He's watched military families move farther away as the price of housing rose. His company is about to open an office in Marietta, nearly 1 hour away from the Marines at Camp Pendleton. And people are willing to do that.
People are forced to do that, and in most situations, to have a home that they can really call a home and have something that's safe and a good environment with good school districts, they're willing to do that.
Even with the rising cost, Barksdale encourages his clients to buy a home rather than rent to get the most out of their basic allowance for housing. He says it's one reason he could justify sticking with the Navy through retirement, despite being paid less than the private sector.
So those special benefits that you get definitely make a huge decision in staying in, because what most people do if they do away with them is say, you know what, well, I'm just going to go ahead and get out and do my job scope on another level.
There was a time when the military paid only 80% of the cost of living off base. They've been paying the full cost, though, since 2005. This year, the federal government will spend $21 billion on servicemen living in the community. Congress is looking at making other changes to trim that amount. One of the ideas includes cutting back the amount that 2 career military families receive.
3-bedroom.
Yeah, well, that's not bad.
2.5 bath, right?
Yep.
Daniel and Gloria Burke nervously await any changes.
You just got to be a little bit more frugal at that point. And I mean, we're smart people in the military. We can do that.
After months of looking, they were able to beat out 4 other couples and rent their home in Chula Vista. So for now, at least, their search is over. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
KPBS video journalist Katie Shuloved helped produce that story. The board that oversees California's high-speed rail project has approved a bid to design and build the 3rd segment of the rail line in the San Joaquin Valley. The contract is valued at $443 million and covers a 22-mile stretch of line. Construction on the $68 billion project is behind schedule as landowners in the Central Valley have been reluctant to sell. It felt like autumn outside with a brisk bite in the air. We'll see temperatures dip tonight. Molly Cochran has more on our KPBS weather report.
Well, we can clearly see some unsettled weather taking place across the northern half of the state. We do have a more northerly track for these storm systems to keep pushing into the region. So northern into central California, feeling those impacts in the way of some clouds and also some showers and also some mountain snow. A very weak disturbance in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, helping to produce some cloud cover for the earlier hours of the evening into San Diego County. But by the time we head towards midnight, things are really going to clear out in the way of those clouds starting to diminish. And as we take a closer look over the past 6 hours, we can just see a little bit more cloud cover, a few spotty showers across the mountainous regions. But other than that, really good to go. We don't have any advisories in effect for San Diego County, so that's definitely good news if you have any travel plans coming up for tonight. And temperature-wise, we're pretty close to where we should be for this time of year. So right around average along the immediate coastline. Ramona tonight at 36, Alpine also in the mid-30s. In Mount Laguna, we're at 28, so the heavy coat required here. But other than that, a few patchy clouds out there, but we're not looking at much, if anything, in the way of precip. This jet stream still farther off to the north, even as we head into the weekend. And what the jet stream does is really just take any of those areas of low pressure and just scoots them right along the jet. So we don't have to worry about that as we head into the weekend across San Diego. We're looking at dry skies and also temperatures pretty seasonable for this time of year. Now, definitely could use the rain across California, so northern central California is still going to be impacted by some of those storms. So if you do have any weekend plans coming up to San Francisco, could potentially be looking at some delays. Here's a look at our 5-day outlook along the immediate coastline. Friday, periods of sunshine, 62 for a daytime high. We will tap into a little bit more cloud cover by the time we head into Saturday, with temperatures still in the 60s, right around 67 for Sunday. Farther inland, also going to be looking at dry weather for Friday, 62 for a daytime high. Probably going to be racing out of work early if you can. It's looking pretty good for Friday night if you have any evening plans coming up, with temperatures in the 50s. A little bit more cloud cover to contend with for Saturday, 64 for a high, in the mid-60s for Sunday. As we head to the mountainous regions, will be in the upper 40s for Friday, 53 for Saturday, with partly sunny skies. And also looking at the desertous regions, a little bit warmer for Friday, temperature right around 70 with partly sunny skies. More clouds than sun for Saturday, with temperatures staying in the mid-60s. Molly Cochran, KPBS News.
Gotta play to win. In San Diego, people are lining up to get a ticket before tonight's Powerball drawing. This 7-Eleven in Pacific Beach sold nearly $6,300 worth of lotto tickets by noon. The store had winning numbers in 2009 and gave out $37 million.
Go to McDonald's and have ice cream first and think about it.
I would start with my family and build out from there. I'm a teacher. I've lived very simply, so that's what I would do.
Well, I know my son, he's playing. If he wants, he's going to probably give a lot to Humane Society, things like that. And it ain't like we're going to go buy a mansion. $1 million, that's better than an oil man.
This lucky 7-Eleven is located on Cass Street. If you're one of the hopeful, California Lottery has released a list of the luckiest spots to get tickets. 3 locations in San Diego have sold at least 2 winning tickets of $1 million since 2013. The stores are in National City, Chula Vista, and Pacific Beach. The odds of matching all 6 numbers to win the jackpot are 1 in 292.2 million. The jackpot is now a world record $1.5 billion. Last Saturday, there were some terminal problems during the Mad Dash at several retail locations in California.
We had some terminal issues last week, just briefly, and it was when we had $15 million in sales in just 1 hour. So we expect to see more of those things possibly tonight, but fingers crossed everything goes smoothly.
The winner will be announced at 8 o'clock tonight. If no one hits all 6 numbers this evening, the jackpot will grow to $2 billion for Saturday's drawing. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.